strain these days in Bengaluru is discussions around how much things have changed. And while much has, I'm happy to report the important things appear to have stayed the same. The green everywhere you go, the energy, young and easy, the weather. Most of all, the weather. And happily, the developments such as they are all seem to be to the good, or at least the ones we're focusing on today. A culinary scene that's positively exploding with new eateries and old, with food that's simple, food that's fussy, food that's varied enough that the Garden City is emerging as a serious contender for best city to eat your way through. So of course for me, leaping in, the question was where to start. Expert advice is always welcome, and I could think of no one better than Chef Manu Chandra, one of the chefs who's credited with leading the charge to this change. Chef Manu mans many stoves at the newly opened Fatty Bao, at the always buzzing Monkey Bar, and of course at Olive Beach, where it all began.
What are we doing today? We're sort of exploring your Bangalore, right?
Bits of it, yes. Yeah. I mean, it's really a very large city, and in my opinion, I think it's one of the most exciting food cities. Right. Unfortunately, it's never got its due because Delhi and Bombay have always hogged, the lion's share of the limelight. It's pretty close to completing a decade now in Bangalore, and it's been a fantastic experience. Yeah. A lot of it has to do with, I think, being at the right place at the right time. And when one came into the city, there really wasn't very much happening. And then, of course, this big IT boom happened, and that facilitated expansion in multiple fields, right. And restaurants and food was definitely at the forefront. Yeah. In a short time of 10 years, Bangalore is up here now competing with the big two, yeah. Possibly even outdoing it.
And lucky me, he's going to be showing me how.
So first stop now is where?
We're going to Veena Stores, which is of course in a very old part of Bangalore. It's a very unassuming little place, but it's become legendary. On a weekend you'll have a line that's sort of all around the corner, a few hundred people waiting as early as 6:30. It's a tiny hole in the wall, but the most fundamental stuff, which is their idlis and their vadas, are iconic, and I think simplicity of their food is what makes them stand out.
So yes, here we are. Veena Stores is exactly the kind of place I was hoping to start with. An unprepossessing little gem that you wouldn't know to go to unless you well knew. Then again, the crowds outside would probably give you a clue. These many people means they're doing something very right, and I suspect I am about to find out what.
So alright, so idli, vada and coffee?
Yeah, I think that's perfect. And the idlis are like super soft. You can see they're constantly making it. Yeah. People like us who are used to much larger kitchens, etc., it's fascinating to watch them prepare everything in this tiny little space and actually feed the number of people that they do.
And speaking of numbers, it's not just idlis and vadas on offer.
Have you ever had the bhats in Bangalore?
No, should we?
Let's try one of the bhats.
Okay, done.
It's very similar to an upma, and that's essentially what it is. Right. But then, of course, another thing that the Bangaloreans will always have, and you'll see it all over the place, is besi bele bhat. And they put these crunchy garnishes, which you can see lying all over the counter. Where it's spicy, but it's very nice, and it's almost like
Bangalore's answer to a misal pav, the misal mix, or not quite?
Well, kind of, because again it's fairly runny, and then they put this crunchy stuff on it, so there's a lot of texture, and it's spicy. So I mean, if you want a spicy start to the day, you can sample.
I'm sold 100%.
There it is, and it's looking good.
Oh, that's great. And these guys, they get their balances right as opposed to... And look at the dispense. I mean, people ordering in within less than 30 seconds, the food's up, so...
Yup, it actually arrives faster than we can hope to finish it. And so, there they are, the reason we're here. The idlis, light as air and piping hot. A description that applies equally to the vadas they come with. Lavish on the chutney, and you have the breakfast to beat.
This you don't get anywhere.
You do not.
A large part of it has got to do with the fact that they're constantly churning so much.
But it's always so fresh. Light. It's so airy, so just fluffy and fabulous.
Just one thing left then, good old filter coffee. Hot, potent, there's not a better cuppa, even one this small, for kicking off the day.
Right. Well, thank you. This has been the perfect start. Dare I ask what's next?
Well, next we're going to head into town and we're going to have a little more, fairly spicy food. A place which is now I think urban legend in Bangalore. It's called Nagarjuna.
Yeah.
And they have a whole bunch of stuff, so we'll discover that when we get it.
I can't wait. You see, in Bengaluru, Nagarjuna's is something of an institution. Nay, it is one. It's again one of those places that don't look promising on the outside, but you know what they say about books and covers, and I'm told what's inside is blockbuster levels of good. First up though, a welcome by Mr. Mohan Reddy, its proud proprietor.
This is one of the oldest Andhra-style restaurants in Bangalore. We are touching 30 years this December. A humble beginning with 40 covers is to wait for customers like today. It is 220 covers and
And they have 3 outlets in Bangalore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are we starting with? What do you think here?
Some of my favorites for sure we'll do. We'll do the chicken roast.
Yeah.
We'll try the biryani. But I believe Monday they have a special of a vade korma also, which sounds fascinating. So
Yeah.
I think we should definitely try that.
Yes, please. We take our seats, the banana leaves are laid out, and then it's time to turn our attention to the chutneys and condiments, those fried chilies, some good gunpowder, gongura, that deliciously tart Andhra staple, and some mango pickle. This alone is reason enough to come here. Then come the others, rice dal and the vade korma that chef couldn't wait to dive into. As for me, this urad dal chutney I couldn't get enough of. Bright with chili, dal, ginger and tamarind, and tasty beyond the telling of it.
There's still a whole bunch of regional cuisines that are yet to be discovered by the rest of the country, and there's just some fantastic. Look at this, for example. You won't get this anywhere. In anything you see, the balance of flavors, they're very aggressive. So be it the salt content, be it the sourness in it, be it the spice level.
Yeah.
So it's hugely gratifying when you have this massive flavor bomb that's going off. So it actually makes for a far more gratifying meal.
I would agree, absolutely.
For many years, a lot of chefs have, they've treaded that whole line of subtlety and trying to keep it,
Gentle.
very mild and gentle. And I understand that and respect that. And of course, to a very large extent, I also tread that line. But there is something about big flavors that the brain registers very quickly.
Yeah.
And there's actually this whole field of study now, which is like the new buzzword, which is called neurogastronomy. It's basically how the brain registers flavors and
responds to things.
Very little.
Well, my brain's registering happiness of the acutest kind as more arrived. Dahi, sambar, rasam. This is a meal you need to pace yourself through. Not just because it's all so good, but because you get so much for so very little.
And this would cost like what?
No, you won't believe it. Huh? It's about 165 rupees plus taxes, unlimited. This is what's fascinating about Bangalore. It's just phenomenal VFM.
And then the extras, the a la carte items, if you will. There's salty, tangy chili chicken laced with green chilies. It's hot, but not so you can't handle it. There's a potent plate of succulent Andhra mutton fry filled with cashews bristling with spice. And then, as promised, the bite to beat. The chicken roast. Greasy, peppery, laced with curry leaves. This is, as they say, the stuff.
I really love this. And it's just, the simplicity.
Yeah.
There's basically 3 or 4 ingredients that really stand out.
Yeah.
And it's actually inspired a couple of dishes that I've done at some of the other restaurants. And it's always such a hit. You can't really go wrong with curry leaves, chili, black pepper.
This is amazing
This
stuff.
is really good. So I have to say, it's milder than it used to be.
Yeah? So that's a good thing, right?
It is, and like Mr. Reddy was saying, I think he says this generation has got a lower threshold for spice, which is ironic really, but...
Enough of it happening elsewhere, I suppose.
Exactly, yeah.
And then the light, lovely Andhra biryani, which serves as the perfect finale to a meal that's really managed to pack it all in.
With everything going for it, it's still got that robust, palate-pleasing ability, and at the same time it has complexity and also a subtlety, which is the type of balance that every chef aspires to do.
This has been perfect, literally perfect lunch. And now because, as we are hoping to prove, the city's variety runs the gamut from the delectably homegrown to those that look further afield, we have more in mind. Next up, I find myself on the delightful 100-foot road.
So now we are headed to Red Fork. This is in Indiranagar in Bangalore. So Indiranagar now has become like the hub for restaurants in Bangalore. I mean, at last count, there were some 95 odd registered restaurant businesses in a 1 kilometer radius, maybe even less. I've opened 2 restaurants on this road myself, and of course we're going to Red Fork, which is one of them. Now it's very interesting because Daddy's Deli and Red Fork coexist in one space.
Okay, nice.
And Zareen runs Daddy's Deli, which is a Parsi kitchen, and Red Fork, which is a contemporary European cafe / restaurant run by her son Xerxes. And they're both very passionate chefs and lovers of food, and bring a lot of freshness to, I think, the Bangalore food scene.
So the family-run Red Fork is a charming space, and we're quick to settle in with Australian-trained Xerxes, the chef behind it. He introduces us to their chalkboard menu, one that changes daily, and naturally to some of the treats of it. Breakfast is big here, so even though it's later than usual, it doesn't take much to persuade us to begin with their big breakfast. Fried eggs and hash browns and mushrooms and sausages, so good, so satisfying, as was this. They're delightfully crisp around the edges, spring onion pancakes with smoked salmon and poached eggs.
There you go, that's a nicely poached egg.
I know.
It's good, the kind to come back for, except with an ever-changing menu, can I?
And so we have a blackboard menu. So we basically cook whatever we feel like doing. Most of my influence is Australian.
Yeah.
So everything's fresh, easily prepared.
Right.
But we encourage people to try new things.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. I know it is hard. Like, I go to restaurants sometimes to eat the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Yeah, but we try.
Next up, burgers, but not any burgers these. Made of lamb, the patties are served square for a reason.
I mean, this is very interesting. So what have you done here with the lamb? It's like twice cooked?
Yes. So it's been braised, shredded, and then reset again. And then you got a little yogurt, sumac, and smoked paprika.
Something like an epigram.
Yum, yum, as was what's next. A surprising barley risotto with onion jam and blue cheese. A punchy, funky, toothsome plate. And honestly, if this is Bangalore's bounty, count me converted.
I've tried and gotten suppliers who I have a personal relationship with, and people who kind of share the same mentality. They're not the bulk. They don't do mass production of certain things. So I've tried to find suppliers that fit our style.
But the old saying was, if you drop a seed into Bangalore anywhere, it grows. And that's true. It's very fertile soil. It's a plateau. Because of the climate and also the proximity to the hills, you were always able to get a certain level of produce, especially if you're doing Western style food, which wasn't that easily available a few years ago, let's say in a Delhi or a Bombay.
And as if further proof were needed, out came this. A luscious chocolate semi-Fredo topped with homemade honeycomb. That's right, homemade honeycomb.
It's made in-house from honey and caramel. We put a bicarb soda, so it bubbles up and gives you an effect of honeycomb.
Jolly damn delicious.
Yeah, it's as close, I think, as you can get to the real stuff.
So perhaps you can tell that it's been a good day, and maybe, just maybe, before we head on for more, a break's in order.